Well, tonight is surely the most important match in recent history for the world's greatest football nation, Brazil. The country that has really set the standards for everyone else finds itself in the midst of a crisis, struggling to reach the World Cup finals for the first time in their history. Brazil also in danger of going out of the Copa America here at the very first hurdle, and that's a humiliation they've never suffered since the tournament was reorganized in its present format. Brazil going into this crucial match against Peru as the only team in Group B without a point, and if they lose here in Cali tonight, Brazil can't go through to the quarterfinals automatically. They'd be left with the hope of scraping through as one of the third place qualifiers. It's a desperate situation for the men in the famous yellow jerseys, although tonight, ironically, Brazil will be playing in their change strip of blue shirts and white shorts. They go into the back of this game following their worst sequence, Brazil, of successive defeats for 80 years, having lost the last 4 games in a row, and they've now gone 6 internationals without a win. And make no mistake, it'll be a difficult contest for the Brazilians tonight. Peru are inconsistent and certainly unreliable defensively, as they showed in their opening match, but they do have, the Peruvians, some very talented players who can capitalize on Brazil's fragile confidence. The Brazilian coach, the under-fire Luis Scolari, has responded to the mountain of criticism following the defeat against Mexico by making, as you may have heard, 6 changes for tonight's game. The former Middlesbrough star Juninho is one of those who loses his place, along with striker Giovanni, who was recently signed by Barcelona for £12 million. Just a couple of changes for Peru in their familiar all-white here. 2 changes from the opening game. Jose Del Solar is suspended after his red card against Paraguay, and Gustavo Temponi is injured. Their places go to Luis Hernandez and Pedro Garcia. The referee tonight is from Uruguay, Jorge Larianota, checking the numbers, checking the watch, and getting Brazil's second match of this Copa America underway, with Peru kicking off. Well, who would have believed that the team who have done so well in the previous 2 editions of the Copa would find themselves in a situation here where defeat might mean an early exit and what would be a very embarrassing return to Brazil for a side that is admittedly under strength. Most of their European stars aren't here, but nonetheless you would expect them to cope with whatever their opponents in this Copa America could throw at them, even though it's Brazil's second string, maybe even arguably third string, Jerry, arguably.
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's second, third or fourth string. They've got the quality and the talent, strength and depth. You expect certain standards from Brazil, and they, themselves will be the first to admit it, that they've fallen below those standards. And confidence is very important to players, and the pressure's on them to get results. They've had a poor Confederation Cup, and they've come in with a new coach, and they really do need a result. Their performance, I feel, against Mexico was very poor. Some good individual play, but collectively as a unit, I didn't think they played particularly well, and that's the criticism that's been leveled at them.
Salazar playing it forward for the Peruvians, who gain an early free kick. 2 former Copa champions in opposition tonight, and in all the meetings they've had down the years, Peru have only managed to beat Brazil 3 times in 34 games, and that's going to be a very painful blow. Chris, the Brazilian defender, going in hard and high.
I think he came out worse. It looked to me as if Chris caught the studs of Pedro Garcia and right across his shin and instep, and I think he came out worse of the 2 from the challenge.
Brazil have won 24 of the previous internationals between these 2 nations, 7 matches drawn, and Peru can try and increase Brazil's problems here, but it was a poorly delivered free kick. When they met in the Copa America 4 years ago, Brazil beat Peru by 7-0. It's the biggest victory they've ever managed against tonight's opponents. They'd settle for a fluked 1-0 win tonight, I'm sure.
Absolutely, I think you're right. But it's not just winning from Brazil's points of view. They have to hold on a minute. they have to perform as well. They have a style of football which, you know, is characteristic for them, Alan, and I feel that their fans want them to win, and to win well.
Here's Belletti wearing number 2, one of the newcomers. 6 changes from the game against Mexico, and the coach made 6 changes even for that game, following their World Cup qualifying defeat against Uruguay by a 0-0, and there were 7 changes even from the team in the international that had preceded that. So there's absolutely no continuity in the Brazilian camp at the moment, and they've used something like 50-odd players in their World Cup qualifying ties. No wonder when you look at those figures, Jerry, they're in disarray.
Absolutely, you have to keep a settled side. I think it's difficult when you've got the bulk of your stars obviously based in Europe, and as we said, we were speaking earlier, Mara Silva at Deportivo and Rivaldo and Jalminha, those players are unavailable, but the home-based players you certainly expect better than what we've seen from them in recent games, and they're going to have to lift their game. Maybe Lady Luck will play a part. They certainly could do with scoring the opening goal, and maybe that'll help their confidence.
Easy first catch for Ibanez, the Peruvian goalkeeper. Good conditions here. It's about 24-25 degrees centigrade, and the pitch in better shape than the one in Barranquilla, where Colombia and Chile have already qualified for the quarterfinals of this competition. The only 2 nations definitely through as yet. This is Juan, one of the newcomers into this Brazilian lineup after their opening match against Mexico. Belletti joining in again down that right-hand side, and with the confidence to go between 2 defenders, and wins the first corner of the game. Good play there by Belletti.
Very positive play, and it looks as if he's followed through, and I think he's caught Jose Soto, and he's pleading innocence, but a superb piece of play. Oh, it was accidental. He's jumped to try and clear the challenge of Jose Soto, and he landed on top of his ribs, and that looks very painful. But wonderful attacking play from the fullback, Belletti.
Jose Soto, who is back in Peru after a spell in the Mexican League, is still in some pain here. Long-serving member of the Peruvian defence. He's been on the international scene for them for 9 years now. Brother of Jorge Soto, who's also in the lineup tonight. And I don't think Belletti meant to cause that kind of damage. First corner, first test for Ibanez. No problem. Pretty obvious handball there.
The interesting thing for me though, Alan, is they left 1-on-1 at the back. Unbelievable. But yeah, that'll do Oscar the world of good, Oscar Ibanez.
Brazil build patiently again. Eduardo Costa, the young man who has also come into the side, brought in by the coach as a response to the defeat against Mexico. They have got several European-based players in this squad, even though they're not the better known of the Brazilians. I just saw one of them there, Roque Junior. This is Junior, number 16, moving it on to the central defender Chris, and the big man in the middle, Guilherme, finds Belletti down the right. Belletti eager to get forward here, and a good cross in towards Guilherme on the near post, and again Belletti has earned his team a corner.
Well, he's providing the width on the right-hand side. Good pace, lovely little 1-2 in a tight area, and a decent cross into the box, which has won them another corner kick. And it's positive play from Brazil, but we need to see chances that are testing the goalkeeper Ibanez.
Alex will take the corner, and again the goalkeeper Ibanez equal to it. Experienced keeper Oscar Ibanez. And the Peruvians leaving a lot of space momentarily in their penalty area then. But Yuton is playing up front with Guilherme this evening, unable to do anything with the opportunity. Bit of a surprise that Brazil left out Cavani, the player who's just moved for £12 million to Barcelona. and who I think you were quite impressed with in the opening game, Jerry.
I liked him, played really well, probably their best attacking player, loads of pace, a lot of width they gave him, but he was supposed to be playing down the middle with Jardel, and I didn't feel Jardel did himself any justice. He was very poor, but I think we're going to see a lot more from Giovanni. Also, Rutchenbach had a good game as well, and he's been left out also, Alan.
Yes, it does a smack of panic, and indeed certain sections of the highly critical Brazilian media are already calling for the head of the coach Luis Scolari. This is only his third game in charge. He has lost both the previous ones, and Brazil haven't scored a goal under him yet. Can they change that against Peru here tonight? The cross port.
Well, that was a feature for me actually in the previous game, particularly to Nielsen. Got a lot of the ball in the second half, and his final ball into the box was poor. And that's somewhere that they'll have to improve on, the Brazilians, if they're going to cause this Peruvian defence problems.
In the last Copa America 2 years ago, Brazil got maximum points in the first phase. They beat Venezuela 7-0, Mexico 2-1, Argentina 2-1, and of course went on to win the trophy for the 6th time in their history. Yuaton stumbling through 2 challenges, doesn't get the free kick he felt he deserved at the end of it though. Howls of disapproval from the big Brazilian contingent here, wherever they play in the world, let alone on their own continent. You can guarantee there'll be thousands of Brazilian supporters, even though their team are going through an horrendous time, probably the worst period that anybody can remember in Brazilian football history. As I mentioned before, it's 80 years since they lost 4 games in a row.
Well, it doesn't sound good as well for the qualification of the World Cup. They've got 2 away games to come, one away to Ecuador, which is going to be tough, and the other one away to Argentina.
Guilherme and Yuaton lining up a shot, and it's a goal! Guilherme has given Brazil the lead. 10 minutes gone, and the coach will feel a lot happier now. The first goal since Luis Scolari took charge of Brazil, and his new-look attacking combination of Yuaton and Guilherme have provided the breakthrough.
Well, you can see what it meant to him. He ran straight to Scolari, give him a big hug. I think Scolari wanted to give him a hug, but that takes the pressure off, Alan. That releases the players. A wonderful piece of skill, great control here coming up from Guilherme de Casio, and then the volley, left foot, low and hard, no chance for Oscar Ibanez. Super piece of play, and they've looked very positive from the outside Brazil, and deserve the lead.
Guilherme, who plays for Atletico Mineiro in the Brazilian league, is a late call-up into their squad after all the withdrawals. Big man who has had some experience in European football, played for Vallecano in the Spanish league about 6 or 7 years ago now. I don't know if you remember him, Jerry. I know you follow the Spanish football scene very closely.
Couldn't get a regular place in Rayo Vallecano, who are not one of the bigger clubs, but did do well in the UEFA Cup last year, and I think they could do with them back again on the strength of what we just saw. Super finish.
Brazil lead, 10 minutes gone here in Cali. The 2 defenders going for the same ball there, but Brazil survive. 6 times winners of the Copa America, a record 10 times losing finalists, Brazil. A terrific record that looked in tatters when they lost against Mexico, where they conceded quite an early goal and just couldn't turn it around. Winners of the title in 1997 and again in 1999, and really under pressure to reach what would be a 4th successive final. It wouldn't be any consolation for their World Cup problems, but at least it would take the heat off the coach. Brazil, remember, are the only nation in football who have appeared in the final stages of all 16 World Cups. What a fine goal.
It was. You can see he let the ball, the weight of the ball come across his body onto his left foot. His body shape was good as he struck it. He kept it hard and low, knowing that that would be the difficult one for Oscar Ibanez to get down to. Enough power and pace in that one to find the back of the net, but you can just see the relief throughout the stadium and the players' faces, and I think it means so much to them. There's a better angle of it.
Well, for a new attacking formation, Yuaton and Guilherme They were definitely on the same wavelength then. Yuaton plays for the famous Corinthians club. He was born in the capital of Sao Paulo. That's him on the deck now, once again not getting a free kick. And like the goal scorer Guilherme, hasn't played too often in the World Cup qualifiers. Foul on Roque Junior there. Big man who had a shaky time in defence against Mexico.
He looked very poor. The opening goal, I thought Emerson, who's probably the most experienced player on the park, was at fault when the ball came into the near post from the corner. Wasn't properly cleared, and then Roque Junior committed himself before the ball was struck into the back of the net. And again, as I say, we know they've got the talent, but they've got to play as a unit, not just the individual skills and flair that we've seen from the Brazilians of the past. Collectively, they've got to work hard, and this player's having a good game for me. But let's say pushing forward on the right-hand side, Alan.
Yeah, he really has done well down there. Belletti has earned a couple of corner kicks and now a free kick. Guilherme comes to the near post. The goal scorer Chris, the number 3, the central defender, in a threatening position as well. Peru have dealt with the first problem, and a free kick conceded in the end by the younger midfielder Eduardo Costa. Foul on Hayoda.
Just 18 years of age, Eduardo Costa.
Jorge Soto for Peru. Well, an unusual position, I guess, for this Copa America Peru find themselves in. Remember, in their opening match, they led not once, not twice, but 3 times against Paraguay, and threw the lead away on each occasion. The final equaliser coming in the dying moments, in stoppage time, in fact. So we always knew they were vulnerable defensively.
I think so, but what's going to hurt them even more is the scorer of the third goal, Jose del Solar, and or Chemo as his nickname is. He was the one that scored the third goal, and then he gets himself sent off, and within 2 or 3 minutes of being sent off, the equaliser comes in, and he's obviously suspended tonight. But that is really frustrating, taking the lead and holding the lead right to the end and then giving it away.
This time Yuaton does get a free kick. Jorge Soto took his time and ends up giving the ball away here to the Brazilian captain Emerson. In the centre of the field, Eduardo Costa, and down the right as ever Belletti. A poor ball from Guilherme, as Belletti had made another good run. We were told that Belletti was actually the understudy to the great Roberto Carlos, so if he can play as effectively down the left-hand side as he started down the right here, he's some player.
I want to see if he crosses a ball with his left foot, because if he's two-footed, he looks very, very positive. But you're right, he was an understudy to Roberto Carlos. Another one of the stars here missing from the Brazilian lineup today.
Yes, so many of their European-based stars not available for this competition. Yuaton. Puelo, the defender. Guilherme with a little fake. Unlucky, still an opportunity, and in the end, the shot was well blocked as Junior arrived late in the penalty area.
He certainly did, the attacking fullback, and it just shows you what a goal does, the confidence. They're all bursting forward, trying to get in on the end of the crosses, which wasn't happening in their previous game against Mexico.
This is Chris. Took his time to find Roque Junior, the centre-back, now Juan. All 3 centre-backs having a touch in this attack here, and Belletti started the game with great confidence. He looks a player and a half already. Yuaton with a little chip. Guilherme gets a free kick. It was a silly challenge really there, because we all know what Brazilians are capable of from free kicks from much more difficult positions than this one.
Absolutely, and again, this Guilherme's done absolutely superbly well. Good first touch, forces a challenge coming in from Juan, but again, it comes to nothing.
Oh, fancy wasting free kicks so carelessly. Not a normal Brazilian trait, but then again, nor is the kind of results that they've come into this Copa America with. They're looking a little better though here. Another foul, this time on Junior, the number 16, who plays in the Italian league for Parma. This is Emerson, not the same one that Middlesbrough fans will remember.
He actually had a great season for Deportivo, the Emerson that Middlesbrough fans will remember. Great season in the midfield with Mara Silva. That's another one given away.
Careless play there by Eduardo Costa, and Chris has got a problem here. The goalkeeper a little late arriving. Marcos in the end got the ball away from danger, but no great communication between centre-half and keeper then.
Just a little bit of panic there crept in. It just shows you if Peru can put any sort of pressure on this fragile Brazilian defence, you never know what can happen.
Jorge Soto brought down by Junior. Jorge Soto plays for the Sporting Crystal Club, and like his brother, has been a fixture in the national side for some time. Another wasted free kick, this time by Peru. Chris, the ever-available Belletti down the right, and now Eduardo Costa gets it back from Alex. This is Junior. After their defeat against Mexico, incidentally, many writers in the Brazilian press said it was one of the worst performances in Brazil's history. They were saying things like totally devoid of confidence, of ideas, no creativity, no talent. And predictably, their great rivals Argentina, who are not here, of course, withdrew very late, have made great capital out of their Brazilian misery. They said Brazil didn't turn up either, but at least we told people we weren't going to Copa America. Well, they might have to rethink if Brazil can produce a more typical performance tonight. They lead 1-0, and they have the ball back again with Peru, claiming they should have had a free kick. Uerton is clear and onside. The goalkeeper's clearance wasn't too convincing, but did at least prevent another embarrassment for Peru's defence.
Certainly was. The dawdling on the ball, quick counter-attack movement, and you can see the pace of Uerton. And for me, the goalkeeper's kick, he was very fortunate, it landed to one of his own players, Oscar Ibanez.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus the driver, 6 medical men, for what I'm sure wouldn't even rate as a graze, as we see again Ibanez's contribution.
Well, at least Marcos was positive. He was positive when he came for it. He's obviously given Chris a call, and he's won the ball cleanly there. You can see there, he's trying to milk it for all he's worth. Juan Hayo.
Brazil return the ball to Peru after that little injury problem. Peru reached the semi-final of the Copa America 4 years ago, 1997, where they crashed 7-0 to Brazil, in fact. A game I mentioned earlier, and officially finished 4th, Peru. So they've got a decent history, twice Copa champions, way back in 1939, when they actually had an English coach, Jack Greenwall, and then the last time in 1975, that was the great Peruvian team of the early and mid-70s, Cubillas, Oblitas, Chumpitas, who did so well in the World Cups of 1970 and 1978. As all Scottish fans will remember, I'm sure. Here's the goal scorer for Brazil, Guilherme. They keep looking for that outlet of Belletti down the right-hand side, and why not?
I think you're right. He's certainly been the most attacking player from the midfield. Gives him a lot of width, has that tremendous pace and a willingness to get forward, and put some good crosses in as well, and won a couple of free kicks, so a good outlet for them to pursue.
Jorge Soto. Ayo on the left-hand side. There's Hidalgo, good skill from him, and continues his run down that flank. And the layoff by Lobaton, the tall, rangy number 7. Well, the ball was definitely moving.
I think he couldn't get taken it quickly enough, could he?
Martin Hidalgo, the player who was brought down, the referee quite right there to make them take it again. Here is Hidalgo back in his more familiar left wing-back position. And looking a little hesitant there. Emerson's header. Eduardo Costa gets it back to him. Good skill by Emerson. Well, the referee's decided his foot was too high.
So Norman, South America, once the foot is raised and the studs are shown, anything over 2 feet, Alan, they give the free kick. Both players had their feet up though, didn't they?
Emerson plays in the Italian league for Roma, the new champions of Serie A. Lovaton with the shot. First effort on target by Peru.
The angle was just a little bit tight, but at least he's hit the target.
Very slow and deliberate pace dictated by the Brazilians. Junior for them. Juan. Belletti. And another free kick. That's 2 free kicks, 2 corners he's won. He's really got them worried down that side.
He's clever as well, because he had nothing on Belletti. He's played the ball, he's run straight into the Peruvian defender, and I think he played for the free kick and he got it. Oh, he's having a great game, isn't he?
Well, I bet you there's a few scouts and managers around Europe sitting up and taking notice of the number 2 here, Belletti. He actually only played in one of the World Cup qualifiers that the Brazilians have had so far, and that was in a defeat against Ecuador in Quito.
He plays his football at Sao Paulo, and certainly impressed in this opening 25 minutes.
Quite apart, obviously, from the pride of doing well in these championships, it is a shot window for these South American players to alert the major European clubs to their ability, and Belletti's done himself no harm in that respect. Peru defending very deep, but still managed to get a man on the wrong side of the defender. Mucho Trigo there, couldn't hold the ball for long enough. 20 minutes remaining in the first half. Brazil controlling the game. They have the lead, and they've had the majority of the possession so far. Here's Eduardo Costa, now the goal scorer. Guilherme on to Junior. This is Alex. Well, it's a lovely little ball back to Junior.
Oh, that's disappointing when they do that, Alan. He really wanted to take it outside him on his left foot, and goes inside and throws himself to the ground.
Now, can Peru make something of this opportunity? And again, the tall Lovaton causing a problem or two, as we see that pretty obvious dive there by Junior.
It's like second nature with them, isn't it? Into the box and lose possession, go to ground.
Yuaton. Junior spreads it wide to Juan. Belletti. He's used every ball intelligently so far. Here's Yuaton. Over the top for Guilherme, but it's offside surely.
I'm not sure he was offside.
Maybe Eduardo Costa who hit
Could
it
have been.
in the end.
Super piece of play though, lovely bit of intricate skill. No, he wasn't offside. I think it was Guilherme who was offside, and Eduardo Costa was on.
We saw a couple of highly controversial, indeed incorrect decisions, which cost Venezuela dearly last night. A yellow card there for Eduardo Costa, maybe for dissent after that decision went against Brazil.
There's no doubt he said something to the referee, Alan, but I can understand why he said it. He was onside.
their first corner. They'll only need one ball to take it, though. Ball boy over enthusiastic here. Maybe they could have done with 2 footballs. They didn't make the best job of that one. Lobaton. Forced away by Rocky Junior. Brazilian coach Scolari comes right to the touchline. He's in lane 4 at the moment in athletics parlance. And he would have wanted to sprint it right out of here if Brazil happened to lose tonight, that's for sure. The Brazilian Federation might make the decision for him, even though it's ludicrously early in his career. He's the 4th man they've had since their World Cup qualifying campaign began, and their 3rd different coach in less than a year. So continuity is obviously not a word that translates well in Brazilian football.
No, they're just not used to losing. That's the problem. And if they lose badly, then obviously there's a reaction, and I think Brazil's obviously reacted to the reaction and sacked the coaches. We've already said how much pressure Scolari's on, and he really needs a second goal before he can relax and feel they've got a cushion that they can comfortably deal with.
Already Peru keeping Walter Zevallos warmed up. Maybe they're going to bring on the defender. Can't see any obvious injury problem out there. There's Jorge Soto for them. Now they've got space on the left-hand side, but the ball a little late being delivered in the end. However, the young defender Juan dived in a little bit. Brazil get away with that. Well, our Copa America coverage continues later tonight as we see Scolari issuing a few more orders from his position there on the touchline. Coming up after this match, Mexico will attempt to book their place in the quarterfinals, joining Chile and Colombia. If they're successful, they take on Paraguay. Into the final quarter of an hour of the first half then, and Brazil lead 1-0, a goal after 10 minutes by Guilherme. They haven't really built on it.
No, I think they come out of the traps very fast in the opening 10-15 minutes, got their goal, had a couple of sort of attempts to get forward, maybe extend the lead, but now they've settled into a pattern. Most of the possessions with Brazil, they're comfortable, but not so comfortable that they can relax. 1-0's never a lead that you're comfortable with.
Hidalgo for Peru. Goes for the return ball, spotted by Juan. I wonder what Balletti's defensive qualities are like. He hasn't had to do too much defending down that flank as yet. Almost been like an old-fashioned outside right, the Brazilian number 2. Now a problem for Brazil. Well, it was a scuffed shot really. The opening was set up intelligently by Mucho Trigo, but then he made a mess of the final effort.
Yeah, he certainly did. Lovely little drop of the shoulder, come outside of Eduardo. There it is, coming in on his right foot. Dario Mucho Trigo, but doesn't hit the target.
Used to play in the Greek league for Ionikos and came into this competition, Mucho Trigo, without a club. So anyone interested, take note of that. Here's Chris, and now Junior. And he sees a bit of daylight and goes for it. Quickly blocked off by Jorge Soto. Alex caught in possession and then foul. Seemed a harsh decision against Hayo.
He was very fortunate, Alex. The referee's not happy with what was taken from. But he's got the decision. They've retained possession, which is all important to the Brazilians.
Emerson for them. Plenty of time for Juan to size up the options. Emerson again. Belletti. Eduardo Costa forced into the corner, but forces the defender into a rash challenge.
He was very clever there. You're right, he committed the defender, made him, forced him to make that challenge, Hernandez, and won the free kick. And the big boys are coming up. Roque Jr., Chris. Maybe an opportunity, Alan, to extend their lead.
Came a little flat in the end to the near post, and they have been disappointing from their set pieces so far, Brazil, but maybe they'll get another chance here. Roque Jr. tackled. Peru still can't get it clear. Another overly dramatic reaction to a challenge, as Salazar came away with the ball for Peru and earns them a throw. Taken by Jorge Soto. And he's back in possession. We've talked about Brazil's World Cup problems. They're fourth in the 10-nation South American section. The top four do go through to Japan and South Korea next summer, but Peru are already virtually out of contention, and they haven't reached the World Cup finals since Spain way back in 1982. I think you probably remember that tournament pretty well, Jerry.
Somehow it rings a bell. I also remember the Brazilians from 1986. It was my last international, and they hammered us 3-0 in Guadalajara at the Jalisco Stadium.
Scolari, who looked a picture of relief in the 10th minute when Guilherme got that goal, beginning to look a little nervy and frustrated again, even though his team have had most control of the football so far. Here's Emerson for them, goes for the return ball. Good defending in the centre by Puelo. Alex. Here's Belletti. Emerson. Lifted back in the direction of Alex. It's come out in the end to Belletti. Well, the final ball disappointing. The build-up was excellent.
That's the point I made early on. That's exactly what they did against Mexico. Good possession, got into good positions wide, never really delivered. Giovanni was putting in crosses, but then he should have been in the middle with Jordel in the previous game. And again, when they made the substitutions, they just couldn't get a decent surface into the box.
Guilherme's goal still separates the teams then. 10 minutes of the half remaining. Brazil, I remind you, in blue tonight. I think there should be a special FIFA rule. Brazil should always be made to play in yellow. It's just a colour that you totally associate with them. And I don't know why they've changed, as Peru are all in white.
I thought they'd change their look. I think, I'll be honest, maybe they think if we change our shirts, we'll change our look. And so far it's working, but I think Scolari would settle for another goal. A 2-goal cushion would certainly satisfy him coming into half-time.
Here's Chris for Brazil. Emerson. And that perhaps underlines the lack of confidence in Brazil, even though they've got a goal here in a position where you would have expected Brazil to go forward. They went backwards.
Absolutely. Haven't times changed? The only thing I've got to say about that is that Peru have dropping everybody into their own half. They're making it tight in there. There's not a lot of space. Maybe they're trying to encourage Peru to come out a little bit, and then they can exploit them. And this man on the right-hand side, Belletti, he certainly has exploited it.
That's another free kick. The linesman, who was about 2 yards away, didn't give it. It took the referee's intervention to give the correct decision, I'm sure.
It was a correct decision, and Overton is writhing. It looks as if he's caught in the back of his left calf. Oh, that's a bad challenge. That is a bad. It should be a yellow card, that.
Overton was top scorer at the South American under-20 championships earlier this year. He got 6 goals in those. But he didn't go to the World Youth Championships, held in and won by Argentina recently. Decent free kick, and the tall central defender Roque Jr. closest to connection.
That's very cynical, the challenge. We're seeing it again. I thought it should have been a booking. The referee obviously doesn't agree with us, but good free kick for a change. Lovely delivery in, left-footed, deep to the far post. Rocky Jr. seemed to take his eye off it at the last second and doesn't actually make contact with it.
Hidalgo for Peru, the number 4, who won his place in the team in the recent World Cup qualifiers. In fact, started when they played Brazil. In Brazil, they got a 1-1 draw. Brazil did win, however, in Peru about a year ago. Lobaton for Peru. Jorge Soto. And again, there seems to be space down the left-hand side for Peru. Hidalgo moves into that space. And it rather fizzles out every time for Peru so far tonight. High hope for them. And that's a free kick.
He plays his football at Celta de Vigo, but not a regular in the side. He's actually been capped out by a Brazilian, Giovanni. Or Giovanella, I should say.
Well, the cameraman's talent for spotting beautiful faces, admirable. And when Brazil play football, their fans are worth watching as much as their teams, I can assure you. Little clash off the ball there as Jorge Soto continues to move forward. Salazar, the defender, joining him, and that'll be a free kick to Brazil. They're a bit fortunate to get away with that.
They give the ball away on the halfway line, no pressure. A simple pass from Eduardo, and he gives it straight back to Peru. I think you're right there. They are a little bit fortunate.
Garcia, the player sent tumbling. He's one of the newcomers in the lineup tonight. Ibler back out to Hidalgo. Well, it's hard to decide whether, as you said, Jerry, Peru are simply sitting back and defending, or whether Brazil find themselves a little nervous despite being in the lead.
I think it's a bit of both. I think Peru maybe a little bit frightened of Brazil, expecting maybe a backlash. They've not had a particularly good campaign in the World Cup themselves, Peru, as you said, so I think they've come with an ultra-defensive mind and trying to play on the counter-attack and not really caused enough problems for me. And we've already said that there's a lot of frailties in this Brazilian defence, but they've not been exposed because they're not getting players forward.
Well, Peru rather, would presumably look upon this as a match that they need to get something out of themselves, having drawn their opening game against Paraguay, and with Mexico still to play in their final game. You'd think that they would be looking at least for a point here in order to qualify for the quarter-finals, so they're going to have to be a little bit more adventurous than they have been so far. And maybe this is their opportunity. Garcia's cross easily dealt with by the Brazilian defence. Roque Jr. getting it away, but they come back again. Hernandez getting involved. Well, they have sent a lot of players forward here, Peru, and it could cost. It's not very often you see a Brazilian player with a poor first touch, but Junior was the man to blame then. Alex dives into the tackle, helped out by Emerson. Well, it's an improvement on their display against Mexico so far, but certainly not a vintage Brazil, this.
They only had to turn up to be an improvement on the performance against Mexico. It was that poor. But they have got 3 central defenders in, which has given them a little bit extra. We see Christers making the initial challenges, and there's still 2 defenders behind him, Juan and Rocky Jr. So I think you can see there's a little bit of caution there from the coach Scolari.
Well, Peru ought to be making the most of their set pieces. They've only had one real glimmer of an opening from open play. So let's see what they can do with this free kick, which Hidalgo, the left-footed player, will take. Well, it wasn't bad, and it's earned them a corner, I think. Came off Chris.
Yeah, they were looking for Lobaton, and I think that's something they've rehearsed. They alienated him at the far post, swung the ball out, and Lobaton does enough to put him under pressure.
Well, can Peru increase Brazil's nervousness by getting an equaliser here just before half-time? It almost found a way through. Roque Jr. did well to stab that one away from danger. Chris completes the clearance. And surely he was being tugged back there, Yuaton, and he's trying to say, come on, ref, I've had too much treatment, and the referee's going to agree with him. You don't often see referees responding to a player's wish like that. Perhaps he'd already made his mind up that Hernandez is going to be cautioned.
I think he should have been cautioned for the challenge earlier that we mentioned on Huerton.
That's right, same player. So really, he could have been marching now, just before half-time. Luis Hernandez, on his first appearance in the national team, could have marked it in embarrassing style. Could still yet. He's got to be careful now on one yellow card as we move into the final minute of the half. I suppose the school report on Brazil would say much improved, but could still do better.
Could do a lot better, I think. But I mean, it's early days. They're building. They've got a goal. You know, confidence. It's up to Scolari at half-time to G them up, and the second goal in the second half has certainly finished the game, I feel. But hold on a minute.
Looking for a goal in this half. Not even getting a free kick from that attack. Just a minute of stoppage time to be added. Jorge Soto for Peru, who conceded a goal in their opening match against Paraguay in second half stoppage time. Can they score one here against Brazil? They're going to have to get the ball forward a little more effectively to do that. Now an opportunity for Puelo, the central defender. Brazil back away. Lobaton in possession. Garcia on the right. It's very deliberate. Jorge Soto moves forward, goes for the return ball. Buzz of anticipation from the Peruvian fans in the crowd, but what might be their final attack of the half has come to nothing, and Brazil get a free kick, and that should guide them through the half-time with their lead intact.
I'm certain Guilherme was playing for the free kick as well, Alan, no doubt about it. As soon as he felt the challenge from behind, down he went. A clever piece of play from him.
And just about have time to take this kick, I would think, before the Uruguayan referee Jorge Larianota blows the half-time whistle. Roque Jr. in possession. Now Juan. Nothing silly, nothing risky for Brazil now. And they have got to half-time with a lead. They're not exactly back to their best. They're far from that, Brazil, but it's an improvement on their showing against Mexico, and they lead Peru at half-time. Sounds like the crowd aren't too satisfied, but they still lead by 1-0 here. Welcome back to Cali as Brazil and Peru prepare to get the second half underway, or at least Brazil do. There's no sign of the Peruvian team yet, still back in the dressing room. The last 4 Copa America meetings between these two countries have seen 2 wins for Brazil and 2 matches drawn. And we mentioned in the first half that they obviously met in World Cup qualifiers in April in Sao Paulo, a 1-1 draw. With Brazil winning 1-0 in Lima in the away fixture last year. Brazil's final game will be against Paraguay in this very stadium here on Wednesday. And if they can cling on to the 3 points that are currently theirs, they will be a lot happier, in a lot better mood, I'm sure, going into that game.
Well, I think they've certainly got to be positive. They've come out very, very quickly. They didn't spend a lot of time in the dressing room with the coach Scolari. I think it's all been positive from their point of view. We've got a lead, we've played some good stuff, we've had the majority of possession. Let's see, can we extend the lead? And I'm certain if they score the second goal, Brazil, they'll go on and win the game very comfortably. But Peru have been disappointing for me, Alan, because their strength for me is that they're a good side going forward, and they haven't really tested Brazil's defence.
No Rivaldo, of course, no Elber, no Roberto Carlos, Romario, who's played quite a bit, come back into the national team in recent months. Much under strength, Brazil. But somehow the name carries such credibility, of course, in world football. You almost ignore the individuals. You just expect Brazil to be the best. And when they're not, when they fall below those high standards, then I think everyone, least of all, of course, the Brazilians themselves, are very disappointed. The only nation in World Cup history that have appeared in the final stages of every tournament, the only nation to win the World Cup 4 times, the only nation to win it outside of their own continent. That kind of history must be a bit of a millstone around the neck of successive squads of players, Jerry.
I think we said at the start of the game, they've got to win the game, but they've got to win it with style. And we got an indication of the fans' disappointment, because at the end of the first half, when they were going off, they were getting some whistles and boos, and they were winning 1-0, you've got to remember. But it's not the type of performance they expect from Brazil. They want the flair, they want the skill, the technique, and they want to win by 2 or 3 goals. At least they are still second in the FIFA rankings in terms of world status, but I think that's as far as it goes. They need to regain some confidence.
Here come Peru, nice of them to turn up, and they're obviously going to make a half-time change. Walter Zeballos, a defender from one of the smallest clubs in the Peruvian league called Melgar, who had a wonderful season in the championship just gone, managed to finish 3rd. He's coming on. Don't quite know yet whose place he's going to take. A delayed start to the second half here in a tournament that's gone off pretty efficiently so far, in view of all the scare stories and the fact that it might not even have taken place at all. There have been no reports of any major problems among spectators, and the matches have reached a reasonable level as well, I think. Brazil, remember, tonight playing in a change strip of blue and white, almost Italian-like colours. Get the second half underway. They lead by a 1-0. The goal coming after only 10 minutes, scored by Guilherme after a fine link-up with his attacking partner, Yurton. Brazil not really capitalising on that good start. Peru being a little negative at times during the first 45 minutes, and surely they have to change their tactics now under their coach Julio Uribe. They've got to be a little bit more aggressive. Zeballos has taken the place of the debutant Luis Hernandez, who was yellow carded, of course, in the first half. Could have easily ended up with a red card. Maybe that's the reason the coach has taken him off.
I think you could be right, Alan. We actually said he could have been booked just before he did get the yellow card, and I'm sure that was taken into consideration by Uribe. But we need to see more positive play from Peru. That's a strange one. He's actually given them the free kick. A little bit more positive from Peru at the start of the second half, and it's Abel Lobathon who's won that free kick.
Opportunity for Hidalgo, who's been in hospital since the opening game. He got an eye injury and was kept in as observation. Swings one in. Brazil have dealt pretty comfortably with anything the Peruvian attack has thrown at them so far. Peru historically and traditionally wouldn't expect to beat Brazil, I guess. They've only managed it 3 times in the entire history of these fixtures. Another disappointing end to an attack for them, and now it's their fans getting a little annoyed.
It was Pedro Garcia's effort, if you can call it an effort. It was more like a back pass. But there just seems to be a little bit more urgency from me from Peru.
And Zavalos has just come on, providing that urgency down the right flank, doing for them what Belletti did for Brazil in the first half. Huerton just beaten to it by Puelo. But you're right, you can tell there's a little more sense of purpose about Peru here. They must have had what in polite circles might be called telling off by their coach. And they're trying to respond.
They're entitled to respond. It was a very negative first half from their point of view. And you may as well lose 2 or 3-0 as lose 1-0. And as I said earlier, I do feel that there are certain frailties in this Brazilian defence, but they haven't been exploited because Peru haven't really had a go yet. Maybe that'll change now.
The layoff by Hayo. Salazar. And carelessly given away. Brazil don't get forward with any great pace. They're more intent on carefully distributing the ball. That's been a hallmark, of course, of Brazil teams for as long as anyone can remember. Hidalgo again for Peru. They trail 1-0 here. Last time they managed to beat Brazil 16 years ago in a friendly in Brasilia. And their last victory over Brazil in a competitive international 10 years before that, 26 years ago. A 3-1 win in a Copa America fixture. Now the referee might take action here, and it's the substitute Walter Ceballos who's in pain.
I think he milked it, Ceballos. He's actually come in, both of them have come in with their feet up, but you can see here he rolls, what, 3 or 4 times, and he really does give it the old theatrics. Oh, what a recovery.
Junior, the player who gave away the free kick, and goalkeeper Marcos showed good, safe hands then. Hasn't had very much to do, of course. Marcos in this game plays for Palmeiras and was reserve keeper to Dida at the last Copa Championships in Paraguay a couple of years ago. Hasn't played in any of the current World Cup qualifiers, but from his point of view that's probably a good thing. His confidence might have been shot by now had he been playing in those.
Well, he's actually suspended as well in Italy because of the passport scandal, Dida, so I just wonder where his next game's coming from, Alan.
Zavalas. This is the tall striker Loboton, who goes for the return ball here. Brave header away by Juan. Well, the fans are pretty unforgiving at the moment. Fans of both teams voicing their disapproval. And it's been a low-key fixture, if we're honest. It started very promisingly, but has gone into a little bit of a trough since then, and the tempo of the game is quite slow, Jerry.
We said that in the first half, it was very slow. I mean, the tempo has been picked up by Peru. The second half, it's Brazil who seem to be sitting back a little bit, and we need to see them starting to play the Brazilian way. We need to see a lot more of Belletti pushing forward on the right-hand side. He was their best outlet in the first half. But Peru are having a good at the moment.
Hidalgo lifting the ball from left flank to right to Zavallos on that far side, the substitute. Oh, lovely football. Brazil would have been proud of that, and forced to concede a free kick. The back heeler, exquisite.
Well, that's the point I'm making. If they do put him under pressure, and he's only got a nutmeg as well on Eduardo. Not that I'm sure he intentionally meant that, but it's a good piece of inventive play from Peru. He's won them a free kick in a dangerous position.
I've never seen a nutmeg with a back heeler before. That is one for the I Spy badge. And Alex came right across there. He was lucky he didn't make forceful contact with the ball, because it might have ended up screaming into the back of his own net. It was Puelo who he made most contact with. Well,
Puelo got across the defender, and I think Chris, just done enough to put him off, but again, I don't feel they defend particularly well from set plays. That's where the goal came against Mexico. You can see he's got a half a yard, and Chris has got his leg up. He could quite easily have given away a penalty kick there.
Chris, who played under the national coach Scolari for his club side Cruzeiro. Here's Belletti. Uaton. Scolari there in the white t-shirt on the touchline, just calling for a free kick. As we see that, I could see that 1,000 times over.
Jorge Soto. I want a copy of that.
That should be worth a goal, really, shouldn't it? Alex. Salazar dispossessed. A good ball into the middle, and Guilherme, the goal scorer, didn't make proper contact. Otherwise, he could have been celebrating another.
Well, from nothing, suddenly a great ball in from Alex, left-footed across. I thought he was just looking to stick his toe out, Guilherme, and that would have been 2-0.
In the last Copa, Peru beat Japan, who were guests, Bolivia, and then lost to Paraguay in the first phase. They went out in the quarter-final to Mexico on penalty kicks. Alex goes down, no free kick given. And because of Brazil's slender lead here, Peru are still very much in this game, though they'll need the physio to come on now.
As you know, Alan, 1-0's never enough. It's Alex who's been caught on the outside of his left ankle. Losing a bit of pain. You can see there he's got a wrap on the ankles.
Yeah, initially it looked like the Peruvian player who was hurt, but Alex was the one who stayed down, one of the rising youngsters in the domestic league in Brazil, plays for Palmeiras. Played in the Copa a couple of years ago, which Brazil won, of course, in Paraguay, and had half a dozen, 7 games, scored 1 goal. And that's how he got the injury.
That was Juan Guayo who actually caught him.
Reminder that the top 2 teams in each group, there are 3 groups of 4 nations, the top 2 automatically through to the quarter-finals. Then the 2 third-place teams with the best playing record will join them to comprise the last 8. Mexico will play later today with 3 points safely in the bag, having beaten Brazil 1-0 in the opening match. Hidalgo's cross, too close to goalkeeper Marcos.
No, but it's looking much better, and Abel Lobaton is looking on the far post, trying to get on the end of that cross. And I definitely see an improvement from Peru, a more adventurous Peru, and certainly a more cautious Brazil.
And the whistle goes as the referee makes his mind up who fouled who there. I think it's Brazil who've got the free kick as we look again at Hidalgo's cross, which is indeed a Brazilian free kick. And that's Julio Uribe, the coach of Peru, who succeeded the Colombian trainer Pacho Maturana halfway through their World Cup qualifying campaign. He used to be in charge of the under-20 team, Uribe. Now Brazil concede the free kick. The youngster Eduardo Costa, a guilty man, and it might set up a counter-attack, and a swift one here led by Garcia down the left-hand side. It should have done, but Belletti showed that he does have defensive qualities as well.
He's quick, he is very, very quick, and I was surprised Pedro Garcia decided to try and run him, because he's got loads of pace, Belletti. Emerson gives away possession.
Jorge Soto finding Lobaton. final incisive ball so far, Peru, but they're enjoying more possession in this half, that's for sure. And Brazil have gone back into their shell a little bit.
You're right, you can see there's that cautious approach, there's a nervous tension about them. They're not comfortable at 1-0, and now Peru's starting to apply pressure. You can see the frailties we were talking about in the first half.
I suppose if you translated Brazil's situation currently to club football, you know, when you're in a losing run like this, the most important thing is to get those 3 points and build on it from in there. They don't want to take risks. Clearly that's inhibiting their play. Junior for them. The goal scorer, Guilherme. Now Alex. This is Eduardo Costa. And this is nice football by Brazil. Yuatan. And a sliding tackle dispossessed him. But only one man forward again for Peru when the Brazilian attack broke up.
Yeah, they've left Lobaton up there on his own. But the support's starting to come a lot quicker from midfield, and that's the plus for them. And here they've given possession away, and 1, 2, 3, 4 white and red shirts getting forward.
Now can Peru make something of this? They're going to get a free kick, that's for sure. Brazil also are about to make a substitution. Number 17 is Juninho Pernambucano, not the Juninho once of Middlesbrough. I think we'll call him Juninho though. Pernambucano is a bit of a mouthful. Coach about to bring him on. I think he came on, didn't he, against Mexico?
He did.
Game, yeah.
He did, and not happy. Emerson, who again for me has had a quiet game and given possession away too many times, and I thought he had a quiet game in the opening match against Mexico. I was disappointed with him. Maybe he's had too tough a season with Roma in Italy.
Whoops, the goalkeeper made a mess of what looked a pretty straightforward save, and I think he's won a free kick for the follow-up challenge.
Well, I don't know what the wall's doing there. It doesn't look correct, but he's playing juggling with it. Marcos doesn't look too comfortable for me.
Now a change also to be made by Peru. Player about to come on here, Roberto Holson, a striker who is a late call-up into their squad, and he will take the place of Pedro Garcia.
It's like for like. I think Pedro Garcia just didn't seem to make too many inroads and had a 1 or 2 little runs. That last run came to an end when Belletti showed a good turn of pace, and coach Uribe decided to swap him over.
An hour gone here in Cali, in the southern part of Colombia, and Brazil lead Peru by 1-0. Brazil coming into the match as the only team in the group without a single point. Hidalgo for Peru, testing cross. Fortunately for Brazil, the only player on the far post was their own man, Junior.
And Hidalgo's got a great left foot. He's knocked 2 or 3 wonderful crosses in the second half, and just disappointed there's no one at the far stick trying to get on the end of that.
But still problems for Brazil. They're trying to get a good view of the tackles flying in there, and in the end Brazil get a free kick.
Definitely an urgency, isn't there? Peru really stepped it up a gear, and I'm pleased to say there is the replacement, Roberto Holson. What can he do?
Eduardo Costa. Number 15 is Juan. Looked pretty much like a foul to me. The referee has given a throw.
That was a foul.
Well, a little bit of justice is done, because that was probably a foul as well. But Brazil have the ball back with Belletti. Free kick earned by Yuatan. And yet another change
That's
on the way.
Just to make it more complicated. Two Juninhos on the park at the same time.
Yes, they have a variety of names, of course, Brazilian players, only one of which they are actually known by. We usually have about 6 or 7 names altogether. As we see again, Marcos with a little bit of ball juggling as the former Premiership player, Juninho, once of Middlesbrough, comes on for Brazil. Taking the place, was it of Alex, I think?
Alex came off, yeah.
Juninho started the opening match against Mexico, was taken off in the second half eventually. Set to be back to his best form again now after all the problems. Of course, he had that awful broken leg playing in Spanish football with Atletico Madrid. Took a long time to recover.
I agree. I think it was Michel Salgado who caught him in the game against Celta Vigo, and very bad challenge it was. Just a little bit of shirt pulling going on. I think Rocky Jr.'s getting his shirt pulled more by the centre forward. But I thought he played quite well in the first half, Juninho, when he played in the first half against Mexico, and some good little forceful runs from midfield, which is what he's renowned for.
And there he is, now plays back in Brazilian football with Vasco da Gama. But it's a game that needs a goal really at the moment to bring it back to life.
I think Brazil are hoping it's them that get the goal, to be honest, and that would certainly finish off Peru.
Hidalgo is dispossessed. And for once, the normally excellent Belletti has given it away. Hidalgo seeing a lot of the ball this second half down the left here for Peru. And this is a promising run. Good block by Juan. Mucho Trigo, the player who showed some dazzling footwork. Hidalgo with another great cross. What a fantastic ball in that was. And Brazil lucky to survive, Jerry.
Absolutely fantastic. He's had 3 or 4 great crosses in. That's good goalkeeping. I've got to say Marcos was very brave there, needed to get a fist on it.
And now the game is livening up.
I think we've got a game in our hands now, there's no doubt about that.
Peru, uncertain of themselves at first, having conceded an early goal, have now realised that this is not a vintage Brazilian team they're playing, and even though the Brazilians have the lead, they're looking a little bit vulnerable at the moment. But now they have the ball back, what can they do themselves with Yurton? Did well. Couldn't quite pull it back to his partner Guilherme. "25 minutes remaining. Mucho Trigo leaves it to Hidalgo, who in turn plays it forward to Jose Soto. Now out to that far side to one of the 2 substitutes that they've brought on in this second half, Zavallos. Now Hidalgo again has been the main threat to Brazil, certainly down this side anyway. And here he goes again. Oh, he's done well. And earns a corner off Belletti. It's noticeable that he's getting forward more. And of course, apart from anything else, that's stopping Belletti.
Absolutely. And when Belletti's gone forward, that's a super cross from Hidalgo once again. And good goalkeeping. But whenever Belletti gets forward, it leaves that space, that little hole, and Hidalgo's quick to exploit it.
Oh, confusion there in the Brazilian ranks.
Early ball wanted. Oh, that's a bad challenge.
That is, that's got to be at least a yellow card, I would say.
Red.
It's red for Salazar.
I think he was the last defender, you got to say. But pretty consistent, the referees in this competition, Alan.
Well, when you consider, I'm thinking back to last night's game involving Venezuela, where there was a crude challenge right outside the penalty area that only produced a yellow card. You do have to wonder about the inconsistencies of referees, because that was a long way out on the right touchline, wasn't it?
Yeah, but if you look at the line, Juninho tried to put the early ball in because he had a player in the box. I think it was Everton, and it was blocked, but he was still the last defender, and that's why he went. Oh, that's another bad challenge.
Well, they better calm down here, Peru. After having a very good period, they're now losing their discipline a little bit. And maybe that red card has handed victory, a much-needed victory, to Brazil. They lead 1-0. The opponents, Peru, all in white here, remember, are down to 10 men after the dismissal of Salazar. And another good free kick. Well, nobody really committed themselves to the near post and made it easy, really, for Ibanez.
Well, Guilherme was the one I thought was going to stick his head on the end of it. That's all it needed, a little touch at the near post.
I suspect Venezuela, watching that, will feel even more aggrieved now that Chile beat them last night, because really, on the basis of the decision made here by the Uruguayan referee, Chile should have been down to 10 men in that game early on, and it might have made a big difference to a very unlucky Venezuela, who had 2 good goals chalked off apart from anything else. Now, plenty of room for Balletti for once. Kind of room he had in the first half. And that means there's going to be a space down this near side. Hayo. Another Peruvian substitute getting ready to come on. I think it's the number 6, Francisco Hernandez, who's a defender nominally. And presumably now, having lost, of course, a defender because of the red card for Salazar, the coach has been forced into that change as they go forward at the other end. That came off the defender and has gone for a corner.
Yeah, Marcus was unable to stop that one crossing the line. But yeah, you're right, it looks as if it's Lobaton who they're going to take off. They're sacrificing him. They need a defender in there. As you said, Alan Salazar was red carded, but the coach has decided to wait until the corner kick's been taken. I think that's what he's indicating to the referee.
Yes, the old adage, don't make a change when you've got a set piece. And if Lobaton gets his head on this one, the coach will be very pleased if he's the player who's going to go off. Well, I tell you what, again, Brazil lived dangerously there. Here's Juninho on the break for them. Good ball. No, it was just intercepted, but it's still fallen here for Junior.
Final ball again. But again, you can see the space that's been left, and Juninho very quick to capitalise on it. Made a real impact, the little man, hasn't he, since he came on?
I think we'll get that change now for Peru.
Yeah, really wants to make the change. Much too close to the goalkeeper, wasn't it? Oscar Ibanez.
And as you forecast, Lobaton is the player to go off. Francisco Hernandez on in his place. So his brother, who played in the first half and was substituted, already back in the dressing room. Now Francisco Hernandez on the field.
Looks like the Nielsen's going to come on as well. Wide left player. Great skill and technique. Maybe the right sort of person to exploit this 10-man Peruvian side. Just hope he delivers the goods. I thought that did some really good work on the second half against Mexico, but the final ball was disappointing from him.
Well, I think the Brazilian fans will want to see their team going for the jugular now, with Peru down to 10 men.
Well, there's the challenge. It was a real hard challenge, wasn't it? No doubt about it. Salazar was taking him out.
Nielsen on. Guilherme, the goal scorer, the player he replaces. Nielsen, who plays in Europe, in Spain, in fact, for Real Betis.
Newly promoted Real Betis. back in top flight football after 1 year being relegated.
Oh, great dummy, unfortunately for Juninho there. It went straight to the opposition. And Mucho Trigo with the ball over the top wasn't quite good enough. Well, when you've gone through the kind of period Brazil have been going through, you'll take any kind of win, but a second Brazilian goal now would be an enormous relief for them. As the other Juninho plays it forward to Yuaton. Balletti. Oh, lovely turn. Oh. Great play again by Brazil, but it's come to nothing, and Peru have got to start gambling now as Chris wins it back. And again. Ceballos. Jorge Soto. Hidalgo.
He's just too quick, isn't he? Balletti is really quick. It's going to take a special player to get past him. He's straight out of the Cafu mould, isn't he? And it's another one to keep an eye on for the future from Brazil.
He's 25, if birth date for him is correct. Balletti. Plenty left in his career then. And on the ball again here, took a risk, got fouled. Free kick Brazil.
A bit of quick feet from Balletti, coming inside. And there's a kick there. I think that the sending off just knocked a little bit of the stuffing out of the Peruvians. They've gone back into that defensive mould that they were in the first half. I suppose you can understand that down to 10 men, though, Alan.
So Brazil rather caught between the devil and the deep blue sea at the moment. Do they hold on to what they've got, a 1-0 lead, or do they go for the jugular of a Peruvian team reduced to 10 men? They don't seem to quite know what to do at the moment, and no doubt the coach has got his own ideas, but the players out there look a little uncertain. First priority, of course, is not to lose. Juninho. Balletti. And goes for the return, unlucky. Might still come to him. Yuaton's shot, knocked clear by the defender.
It's a good play again. Balletti's been the outstanding player on the park for me consistently over this game, and I just think they hope that they can get this second goal so they can relax at least a little bit. But super piece of play again.
Here they go with Yuaton. He just got the ball caught up between his legs, really, so the danger went. The danger now could be at the other end for Brazil's defence. Just the defender doing a good job, but a free kick conceded by Juninho.
He meant it as well. Certainly Jorge Soto thought it should have been a yellow card. He indicated that to the referee, Senor Larionda.
The referee's given them a second chance as well there, Peru. They took the free kick rather hastily and rather poorly. The referee wasn't ready, so they can try again, as Juninho explains presumably what he was trying to do there. What he has done is concede a free kick. Pretty straightforward effort for Marcos to deal with, and he didn't do any ball juggling this time. into the final quarter of an hour in Cali. Brazil on their way to a much-needed victory after, what is it, 6 matches without a win coming into tonight's fixture. And that included, of course, 4 defeats in a row. Whether they've done enough to satisfy the demanding Brazilian media or their fans remains to be seen. And it still remains to be seen whether they've done enough to take 3 points. Juninho, it's deflected and stayed out. Yuaton with the rebound, and that's not gone in either.
Well, the little man done tremendously well. It was a big deflection, and I thought it was going to go into the back of the net. I think he did as well. Let's have a look at it from this angle. It takes the deflection off the defender, hits the crossbar and the post. And Yuaton's shot then goes past the far post, and another opportunity to make it 2-0.
Well, it was about this stage of the game where Chile got their winner against Venezuela last night in Group A with that deflected effort by Montesinos, who I noticed in the South American press has been credited with the goal. It was not an own goal, so he's leading scorer in the competition at the moment with 3 as the Nielsen sets it up again for the other Juninho, who pulls his shot wide.
That was Juninho Pernambucano, and it was a poor shot, I've got to say. And this is the one that came back off the crossbar and post. How did it stay out?
Well, I wonder, will Brazil look back on that moment with regret? Can Peru force an equaliser? They've been let off the hook, because a second Brazilian goal would finish them off. They've only got 10 men, remember. And they might be getting finished off anyway here. Yuaton sets it up again. It's a beautiful effort. Oh, just not quite enough pace on it from Juninho.
Well, we're starting to see the skills and the trickery, but we've got to put one in the back of the net there. Yuaton and the Nielsen combining to put that one in for Juninho.
Good defending then by Juan at the other end. He's had a steady game.
The third central defenders made the difference, I think, because certainly they were exposed. Roque Jr. and Chris were exposed in the first game against Mexico, and the coach has certainly recognised that, Scolari, and he's made the change.
That'll be a free kick, and an opportunity for me to remind you that coming up after this match, Mexico meeting Paraguay. Mexico attempting to book their place for the quarterfinals. That kicks off at 15 minutes after midnight, as Brazil looked as though they might have got a goal, then looked as though they might have got a penalty, have ended up with neither. Balletti's cross, or was it a shot?
It was a shot. I think he saw 2 in the box, lots of white and red shirts, decided to have a pop himself, and again he's playing like an attacking wide right-sided player. He's not really playing like a right wing back, permanently encamped in this Peruvian half.
Well, you can imagine him going down the right, Roberto Carlos going down the left. Here he is again. Well, there was too much on it.
But it's all Brazil now. They seem to be looking for the second goal. They're not going to sit back. I think Scolari decided when it was down to 10 men, let's go and win this game, and let's win it with a little bit of style. And I can see them scoring a second goal. They should really be 2-0 up, Alan.
Yes, they've made this an unnecessarily nervy final 10 minutes for their fans. But they seem to have sensed now that the game's there to be tied up. Corner.
Good skills here from Danielson. Lovely left foot. And the silent challenge comes in.
Juninho has made a big difference. Got Salazar red carded and has really played a key role in his short time on the pitch. What a run that was as well by that beautifully gifted player who was stopped in the end by Hernandez.
Well, it's before Danielson have said it before, he's got great skill and technique, but it's the end product. You've got to get something at the end of it. I think just too many white and red shirts.
Should be able to force his way into Brazil's first team. He's only got Rivaldo ahead of him there. Into the final 8 minutes, and Brazil are not exactly hanging on, but certainly not completely in control of things at 1-0. Juninho 2, should we call him?
He's not impressed me since he's been on. Juninho was at Pernambucano and had one good chance to have a strike at goal, missed the target by, well, 5 or 6 yards, and his passing's been poor, but at least they're in front.
Ceballos for the risky ball there. Ceballos across his own penalty box, and it has helped to give Brazil possession again. Eduardo Costa down this right-hand side. Now Yurton. Peru backing away. Just as well, Yurton's control was so poor. I don't think there's any doubt Brazil deserved to win this game, Jerry, but, you know, have they done enough to show us that they can go on from this and still be a force in this competition?
I don't think so. I'm still unconvinced. They have got good players and good skill and technique, but confidence is still a little bit fragile. I think that opening 10-15 minutes of the second half, Peru, was particularly with Hidalgo coming down the left side, put some great crosses in, and you could see there was a lot of problems in this Brazilian defence.
Juninho plays a significant ball again forward to Denilson, who goes past the defender, dropped his shoulder, went past him beautifully. Oh, wonderful skill, sets it up. Yurton couldn't get the header on target, but sublime technique there from Denilson, and now here's Juninho. A moment ago.
Well, we've watched him for 2-3 seasons in Spain. He's got unbelievable skill and technique. Oh, look at the change of pace and the little drop of the shoulder, and then the clever chip. He's done everything but walking into the back of the net, Alan, and the delivery in this second half since he's come on has been much better than the second half against Mexico.
5 minutes to go. Brazil lead 1-0. They need another goal to settle it down, and this could be it. What an absolute beauty by the man whose skills have illuminated this match since he came onto the field. Denilson makes it 2. Brazil are smiling. They're not exactly back to their best, still far from it, but this has been a big night for Brazil and their coach Scolari.
Well, it's going to lift confidence as well. That is a wonder goal, an absolute superb goal, contender for one of the best goals in the competition so far. And the cheekiness, he just chips it, he just lofts it into the far corner of the net. What an input he's put in since he's been on the park. And I think they thoroughly deserve to be 2-0 up now, Alan.
Well, that's a good as goal as you're going to see, I would think, in the Copa. If we see many better than that, we're going to have one hell of a difficult choice to make for goal of the competition. That was brilliant.
That's why Real Betis paid £22.5 million from 3 years ago. And he doesn't score many goals, I've got to tell you.
But they're worth waiting for if they're all like that.
Absolutely.
Well, that's put a smile back on the face of the nation that gave us the phrase, the beautiful game. Juninho has been outstanding since he came on. He's at the heart of another great move that could make it 3, could still yet. The advertising board got a stronger kick than the ball there.
Well, they're in a rampant mood. They really are. They know the game's in the bag with this fantastic piece of skill. and technique from Denilson straight over to Scolari, and look at what it means to the Brazilian bench.
It would seem from the reaction of the players that despite the poor form that he's had, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, it's only his third game in charge, but he seems to be popular with the players.
Oh, he is popular. I mean, they all want to win, they all want to do well, but it's the pressure that I think gets to them. And you see, you know, if they scored a couple of goals early on, you see a different team. And look at this from Juninho.
Juninho has turned the clock back with this performance, an absolute cameo role. Juninho with the cross, and it never quite reached Yurton on the far post, but now Brazil are turning on the tricks. This is more like the Brazil we all love. And here he goes again! Oh, what a brilliant goal that could have been from Denilson. Good save.
Well, I think it's lifted him more than anybody. His last 15-20 minutes has been absolutely sensational. What a shot, what a save.
Well, if you can judge a coach by his substitutions, Juninho and Denilson have turned this game.
No doubt about that. Look at the movement on the ball as well. It makes an even better save from Oscar Ibanez, and I think he's injured himself in making the save.
Well, that's unfortunate, but providing he recovers, not of any great significance because the game is lost anyway for Peru. I suspect it was lost in the moment when their centre-back Salazar made that rash tackle on Juninho. Down to 10 men against Brazil, even an out of sorts Brazil, and 1-0 down as well. They were never going to come back from that.
No, I agree, but actually it was interesting though. I felt that 15-20 minute spell in the second half, they really did ask a few questions of the Brazilians defence, and I thought they played their best football. It's unfortunate they lost the central defender Salazar when they did, but all credit to Brazil for capitalising on it.
Went down very awkwardly there on his shoulder. They've used all three subs, of course, Peru, so he can't be replaced. Oh. Second attempt will do.
Just look how much confidence though there is in the Brazil. Everybody wants the ball now. They know the game's won, and we're seeing a different side. They're much more relaxed and much more flowing.
And let's be honest, no one, well, maybe they're bitter rivals in South America, the likes of Argentina, but none of us in Europe want to see anything other than a successful Brazil. They're a joy to watch.
Absolutely.
When they're in this kind of mood. We want Brazil to do well in this competition. Oh yes, we're getting the testimonial football now.
Alright.
Peru are beaten and demoralised, and Brazil have got an enormous amount of confidence back in this game. This could be a significant night indeed for Brazil.
And more importantly, 3 points as well.
Well, what about this move? There's about 28 passes gone into this already. Can they round it off with a goal? No. Well, confidence plays such an important part, doesn't it, in football, Jerry? And they're going to build on this.
Well, I hope so. I think the press hopefully will get behind them. They'll all be talking about Denilson's goal and the importance of his substitution, and also Juninho. I feel Juninho and for me Denilson made a huge difference in the second half, the last 15-20 minutes. But we got to keep it in perspective. Peru were down to 10 men, and I think that's why Scolari decided to go for it.
And we've also got to keep it in perspective, of course, that they did still lose that opening match, so it'll be only 3 points that they gained from the evening. The psychological game, more difficult to assess, but Mexico already have 3 points and play, of course, later tonight, so they could go to 6 points, Mexico, although the top two, remember, in each group qualify. Brazil won't be too upset at going through as runners-up if it comes to that. Oh, we're getting absolute exhibition football here. Oh. This is magnificent. Penalty, it's got to be, hasn't it?
He hasn't given it.
Denilson tumbles at the end of another 6 or 7 man intricate, precise passing move. Maybe he did go for it there a little
He
bit.
was playing for it, certainly.
Yeah.
There was a trailing leg. How much contact, I'm not completely convinced.
Well, there's a few contenders for the most effective contribution to this match. Balletti, the right wing back overall,
Yes.
but Juninho and Denilson, since coming on in the second half, have been magnificent.
Their input's been huge, no doubt about it.
Well, it's wonderful now. It's the kind of game you don't want to end because Brazil are playing some lovely stuff.
Just wish they'd have scored the second goal a lot earlier. You know, we'd have seen a lot more attractive attacking football from them.
Yeah, the chests are out now, the swagger's there, the little bit of arrogance, and the skills, the tricks, the technique, it's all there to see. All the things that we've associated with Brazilian football down the years. But as you rightly say, Jerry, keep it in perspective. Peru down to 10 men. However, Brazil are off and running in the Copa America. They've got their first 3 points. The coach has got his first win and his first goals. 2 wonderful goals they were as well. The first in the first half by Guilherme. The second, one of the contenders already for goal of the competition, by Denilson. Brazil 2, Peru 0.
Well, Mexico have experienced something of a reversal of fortune after switching coaches. Their World Cup hopes seem to be in tatters. They had a dismal Confederations Cup. They were highly criticised back home. And after 6 defeats in a row, ultimately Coach Meza paid the price. Javier Aguirre was brought in, and suddenly the sun was back